Morning. Thank you for coming. I'm excited to see you in this room. I'm going to start out because I want to gauge the crowd because I can take this presentation in a couple different directions and talk about it, but I want it to be useful to you, so I want to get a quick show of hands so I can understand where y'all are coming from. And since you've heard me say y'all, you know that I'm coming from Durham, North Carolina. But I'm sure some of you came from a lot further. So, quick show of hands. Who knows what WebRTC is and has used it in Genesis and PureCloud and whatever, or knows what it is and hasn't used it yet? Has no idea, but thinks that it might be useful. Okay, so you all kind of have most of you have a pretty good idea. Okay, cool. So, what I want to be able to talk about today is, wait, one more question. Who has had trouble with WebRTC? Okay, cool, great. I also want to answer your questions because we have spent a lot of work on figuring out how to make things specific. So again, I'm Xander Dumaine. I work at Genesis on PureCloud in Durham, North Carolina. I've been working on WebRTC with PureCloud for 5 years, which is how long I've been with the company. I started into WebRTC at a company hackathon, and we wanted to add video chat into PureCloud. And from there, it kind of took off, and we built it to a multitude of features and have a whole slew of things powered by WebRTC throughout the platform. So, first up, what is WebRTC? I'm going to talk about why support WebRTC, why use it, what features does it provide to you, because you might be familiar with some of the features offered by WebRTC, but not all of them. Some things, some features in PureCloud that are powered by WebRTC you might not even realize. I want to talk about how WebRTC is architected within PureCloud, how it can work into your network infrastructure, and then just have Q&A open, because I know that there's a broad range of questions involving this and lots of different things people have experienced. So WebRTC is an open standard for adding real-time communications to browsers and native applications for audio, video, and data. So this is an important point because WebRTC is there's kind of a common misconception, which is it's a piece of software provided by Google, and you just use it in your apps, which is not actually true. It's an open standard developed by engineers at Google, Firefox, Mozilla, the IETF, lots of different places, basically because they wanted to figure out how to provide a standardized way of implementing these features across browsers and applications so that they can provide them in some core applications like browsers. They can provide core software development kits for mobile applications, but then you can also implement them as well. So while we do use the browser implementations in Google, Firefox, Safari, those various implementations of WebRTC, we also have implemented the WebRTC core in the media microservices stack in PureCloud. So we have a true understanding of how it works, and we contribute back to the standard as well through bug reports, through additional RFCs and things like that. So it is core to our platform, and we've been able to contribute back to it. So these are some of the kind of core features that are provided by WebRTC in PureCloud. WebRTC soft phones, screen share, screen recording, video interactions coming soon. I'm going to focus mostly on phones today, but some of these other things are in PureCloud using WebRTC today. And a couple of additional things we can talk about at the end if we have time. So WebRTC adds capabilities of VoIP phones to your apps for free. How many people have bought phones for their? Do you want to keep buying phones? Okay. I didn't think so. But people have managed them, set them up, plug them in, provision them. So WebRTC phones don't provision, so you don't have to worry about that. When I say free, I mean it doesn't cost you anything to buy them, it doesn't cost you anything to set them up. You don't have to manage them. It's all built into the application. So it's really nice because we have the entire ability to build that phone into the PureCloud application, into any of our platform applications, and it gets constant updates. PureCloud deploys constantly, and you can get those updates for free as it rolls out. You don't have to take time to do firmware upgrades, to re-provision phones, or anything like that. It's all very automatic and seamless. So it's got the features that you need, right? You need fast call setup, you need secure audio, you need NAT and firewall traversal, You need QoS, DTMF, persistent connection, headset control. It's got all of that. But it also has perks that you love, no provisioning. You can call from anywhere in the world. You don't have to have users on VPNs to your site. You can, but you don't have to. We have salespeople who travel all over the world, and the WebRTC phone is amazing because all they have to do is open their computer and they can continue to install with the same number. They don't have to swap out SIM cards or anything like that. It works from anywhere. One of the things that they talked about at the general session yesterday was families who move, right? Military families who move all over the country, and they want their spouses who might work from home as agents to be able to continue taking calls. This is the same thing. As long as they have an internet connection and a computer with a browser, they can place calls with no additional configuration. So it's really excellent for that. And you never have to buy a phone again, which is pretty nice. Alright, so a little bit about what open standard means with WebRTC is that it's built on top of protocols that you know. Everybody knows their network layer. They know the different transports on there, TCP and UDP. Most of you are familiar with TLS to keep your network secure, HTTP in the browser, and then the various features built on top of those things that are available in the browser. SHR for network requests, secure sockets if you're not actually in a browser, but maybe a mobile application or an additional service. WebSockets for long-lived connections. Those are actually not a part of the standard, but those are kind of implemented pieces in order to establish the calls. And we can talk about the difference between signaling and WebRTC itself if you're interested more in that at the end. Feel free to talk to me about that. But WebRTC is mostly this right-hand column. So it's built on top of primarily UDP. You can do media over TCP, but it's not the best. It uses protocols called ICE for negotiating calls and doing firewall traversal and hash traversal. It uses DTLS to securely establish a connection and ensure there's no man-in-the-middle capability of intercepting your call and negotiating that audio. And then secure RTP for actually streaming that media, and SCTP if you're doing data transfer over WebRTC. Any questions about that? So what's great is that most of these things are familiar to network engineers. And when you talk about WebRTC and the features that it provides you, it often kind of creates a little bit of fear with your IT folks and your network engineers. But really, when you break it down to the transports that it uses, the ports that it uses, it's really not as scary as it seems for me from the outside. And like I said, it's compatible with your deployment model. If you're using BYOC Cloud, you have all of your that you're using are cloud media services, and you're bringing your own there. It's compatible there. Very limited amounts of ports to open. It's all egress, so your network engineers often balk at the number of ports that we ask for. But it's all egress. It's all completely secure. It does firewall traversal. But if that's something that you don't want to do, and you want to have your media services local, you can do that too. You can still use WebRTC and still have those benefits without actually having that voice go out over the open internet. You can still use WebRTC. It's useful there as well. And really, whatever your deployment model is, we have you covered. And we have experts to be able to figure out how to set this up so that it's compatible with your network. One of the biggest things that I hear all the time is just, why do you want so many ports? Right? Well, WebRTC uses ephemeral connections. So you're really opening a connection to do that media streaming on an ephemeral port that's made for that. And it's not using a standard UDP port because you need a port for each connection. And by doing that, you have the ability to balance that across your network and to make sure that all of those connections are secure as well. So WebRTC works today in the PureCloud desktop app, in any browsers. It works in the PureCloud embedded framework if you're using Salesforce as your client, or if you want to build your own application and you want to build your own UI on top of PureCloud and have WebRTC features before to that. That works too, as part of our SDK. And then the last big topic that we have is troubleshooting. Right? People have issues with having the connections open, stay open. What do I do if I have a complicated NAT or firewall? What we've built in is a troubleshooter built into the application where you can run automated network scanning from your cloud's perspective. Because when you're doing network troubleshooting tools, oftentimes they run as their own type of context. And when you run a network troubleshooting tool, it runs as it runs. It doesn't run as PureCloud runs. So we built this into PureCloud so that we can scan your network from the agent's perspective and tell whether they have the right ports open, whether their network is something that could be problematic, what's their bandwidth, what's their jitter latency. We can scan their hardware, see if you have a microphone connected. If it's a microphone or headset or whatever from one of our vendor providers, you can integrate that as well, so you can use the physical buttons to hang up, mute, whatever, so they can actually have your cloud open in the background and not have to ever interact with it and still use WebRTC like they would a normal phone. And that is provided as a standalone diagnostic tool, which is really helpful for when you're deploying this to your agents or deploying this across multiple computers in your network. You can run this troubleshooting tool. It's really simple and easy to run. It works for any of the WebRTC features that we provide, as well as the headset integration. So what are your questions? I ran through that quickly because most of I think what you're interested in is figuring out what's going on with WebRTC in your networks. So, fire mapping. Oh, I know you have questions. Who's had trouble? Some of you put your hands up. Yeah.
So, every once in a while, we have an edge location that goes down. So our resolution has been opening up a ticket through the Genesis portal and then calling in to get that escalated quicker. Mm-hmm. Is there a better process we should be going down? Because when an edge location goes down, we're talking 300, 400 staff members that no longer can call out.
Right.
So what could be our fastest resolution for that?
That is an excellent question, and I think the care team is working on improving that process.
Okay.
One of the things that we have been doing kind of all throughout the platform is doing better telemetry. So what we're actually including, because we're able to alert on services going down, being disconnected, but we can also do that from the agent perspective. And so that's rolling out now very shortly. So what we'll actually see is a spike in agent error side where they're unable to communicate, and that will tell us if we think it's a network issue or if we think it's a PureCloud issue between the agents and PureCloud or something like that.
So the last mile issue, or maybe
exactly, the last mile issue is the big one there. Okay. And so what we do is kind of tune those alerts so that hopefully the dev side gets alerted to that before a care ticket comes in or before it gets escalated. And we kind of meet in the middle to improve that speed to resolution.
Thanks.
To follow up on that, when you just have the agents relog in and they would be allocated to a different edge device?
So currently WebRTC is tied to a particular site. The WebRTC phone itself is completely virtual and ephemeral. So you can actually be logged into multiple devices and browsers and receive that phone call at multiple places. And it does negotiation with that to figure out where the agent is actually using the app. But the WebRTC station itself is tied to a physical site within your edge config. So if there was something to be going on with that edge site, you could have a second station created for them at a different site. They could do that. And we're going to be working on that very soon. That's in the planning phase to be able to have basically site agnostic WebRTC stations where it can go to the closest available site. Yeah.
The ability to get voice quality metrics out of the client?
Yes. I'm actually collecting that now. We're doing real-time loss calculation with the same algorithm that we're doing loss estimation from on the edge side. So that's currently available through analytics data post-call, but we're doing that in real time in the client now. So we have RTCP, so we're getting the quality metrics back from the edge as well. So it not only are we detecting the number of packets lost incoming to the client, but also in returning to the edge. So we're able to do that entire calculation for jitter, round trip time, bandwidth, packet loss, all of that, and collect those individually, but then also aggregate them into loss estimation, so we can kind of have a good guess about what the call quality is. And what the plan is to be able to service that to agents so that they know ahead of time, but then also service that to admins and supervisors so that they know if there's a particular agent having problems or if it's kind of a sweeping issue across a particular site or something like that. and it'll be much more real time than having to have something that kind of scans the analytics data to tell you what the moss was after the fact. Yeah, I'm back here.
So when we do the agents that are happening, whoever node agents that continuously have WebRTC connection issues, and I mean, I'm pretty sure it's internet related, but what options do we have for that agent?
Yeah, so that's a good question, and that kind of depends on what their options are. But we're putting out these new tools for doing that kind of last mile detection, where we can identify with a higher confidence whether we do believe it is a network issue or an internet issue at that agent's location. At that point, there are different things that they could do. One of the, if it's at a home location, something like that, it's oftentimes it's just a call to their ISP. The ISP is able to kind of give them home advice for their router, or even push settings down to them. With many of them, AT&T can do that now for sure. And oftentimes it's a config on the router. They need to tell them they're doing real-time media streaming, they're doing voice from home. Some ISPs get a little bit weird about that. But you can tell them what they're doing. Say they're doing voice chat for gaming, because then they tend to be more forgiving for that. But yeah, that's the case. It's effectively oftentimes just issues with the home router settings, especially if you have people who are development focused, or if they're married to someone who is, because they often have their router set up much more restrictive and have a tighter firewall network configuration. That's the biggest thing with the home network provider to contact the ISP. But we can tell you with a higher confidence now whether or not we do believe that it is that issue.
When you talk about the troubles you're seeing, sorry, to your question, what are the symptoms that you're seeing from users?
Well, most of our agents don't get an answer button when they answer. They'll see a flash on their screen, or they'll go to the not responding message.
Any call drops, like in process?
And once the connection's made, we're not getting dropped after the connection's made. But we run 240 agents, and probably 180 of them are remote.
So you're not alone in that problem, and we are also rolling out a kind of a newer feature for agent alerting, where they have, instead of if you're familiar with the agent UI, they kind of have a count up for how long you've called for alerting. It's not really useful when really they have a time limit to it, whatever their alerting timeout is. So we're also doing a countdown from the time that they have to answer the call to when it is over, and having clearer messaging around when there is a WebRTC negotiation issue.
The countdown is
Not accurate?
not accurate.
Okay.
It's jumping. I mean, I feel it's a bandwidth issue.
Sure.
We see the same thing though. Is not all of our numbers are always accurate. Like it'll start ringing to the first agent and already be 20 seconds into the call or something. And I'm not sure if that's navigating IDR or something like that it counts
Right.
time, but it's not always completely accurate.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to you and get specific examples on those. And basically what we can do is we can track and tell you what's happening where. And creating a clearer picture of that timeline. And that's not unique to WebRTC phones. That's something that kind of happens across different station types. Remote station types can have that too. Because part of using the PureCloud application zero living platform is that you don't have a VoIP phone tied directly to the edge that's provisioned. And so there is latency, right, in the network. Especially we see this often when we have agents located in a region that is not the same as their PureCloud region. We have agents in the Philippines talking to PureCloud instances or the PureCloud environment in the United States. You have a speed of wait problem then, right? So working on those problems and making it clear to both agents and supervisors where that time is spent and where it can be improved is one of our kind of core improvements on improving that feature right now. Something that we're working on. But please send us your feedback. Talk to me afterwards, give me screenshots, give me conversation ideas, whatever you want, and we'll take them back. Because those are the types of things we want to improve on. Yeah.
Is there something that needs to be configured for the PureCloud to enable QoS markings, or does that happen automatically?
Yeah, so the question is about enabling QoS marking. So QoS is an interesting subject with WebRTC, and it is only effective sometimes. And to give you kind of an idea of why that is QoS does not work over the open internet. So if you have agents at home doing taking calls on WebRTC or in a remote site from your edges, or if you're using cloud edges, QoS does not take effect over the open internet, because otherwise everyone would mark their packets as the most important, and the ISPs would prioritize them, and it would be chaos everywhere. So it really only works to the network boundary. In order to enable that works in our desktop application, because it requires the QoS driver to be installed on the machine. So it works on Windows in our desktop application. When you have that set up in PureCloud under the phone configuration, either on base settings or on the phone itself, if you want to configure them per phone, you can just set the DSCP value, and that will be tagged as tagged on the packets that will help.
So that's done within the desktop app?
It works only in the desktop application because it has to communicate with a low-level network driver that is installed on the machine. And when you run it in a browser, it's unable to communicate directly with that driver. I want to read it first. Sorry.
Just a quick one. You mentioned some of the quality, real-time quality tools that are coming.
Mm-hmm.
Any estimated time frame on that?
It's probably going to be limited availability in the next 2 months, 2 to 3 months. If you're interested in seeing some of that stuff, but talk to me afterwards.
Okay.
And definitely before the end of Q3, we have to have that rolled out. In phase 1, where we are surfacing that data but not making it historically available yet, because the historical data you can still fetch from analytics, the Diagnostic is attached there. But yeah, surfacing it in the next few months. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we've been troubleshooting different kind of WebRTC issues, and common issue is that we're kind of blind. We don't have all the information about which route the audio took and so on. Will that be more information available later in some kind of tool for admins, or so? Like, was a turn server used, or
Sure.
what was the actual path for the audio to take in this?
Yeah,
single call.
Some of that I can point you towards tools that are already available that are outside of PureCloud.
What was the question?
Sorry, the question was around, are there any tools available or planned for seeing what the audio path was? For example, was a turn server used, or which media services were negotiated? Where did the audio path actually end up? And the answer is we don't have anything currently built into PureCloud for doing that. And I don't have anything specifically planned, but it's not far out. It's not too far out from the plans for telemetry for being able to look at that real-time data. But I can point you towards some tools that already exist for looking at that. Some of the browser tools that are available if you're doing it in the browser. Otherwise, things like Wireshark are really useful, and I can kind of point towards some common examples for understanding where that call is terminating.
It sounds like he's looking at more from the historical standpoint, though, when you've got this post-call when somebody's reporting it to you, so you can go look back on that particular call and say, wow, for some reason this audio was taking this route because this part of the network was down.
Yeah, so for historical context, looking at the audio path, we do have a little bit of that in our internal metrics and statistics, but I will take that feedback back.
Yeah.
And talk to the team about how we can put that into the historical data. That's good feedback. Yes.
So what kind of tools are you referring to? Are you thinking about WebRTC or internals in Chrome? Or?
Yeah, so WebRTC internals in Chrome. There's an analog in Firefox for looking at things in real time, replacing calls, understanding where they're going. That's kind of what's available now, and understanding how those things get used and how you can look at a WebRTC internals dump from something that happened in the past. I can point you toward that as well, which is not built into WebRTC internals.
Yeah.
But you can kind of get a capture or share that and tag it, and you can share those with us as well, and we're able to look at those.
That's something you plan to share in this discussion, or is that something that you're saying that...
I can, if you're interested in seeing that.
We are.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for those of you who are not following along, so Chrome has this built-in tool called WebRTC internals. And when you're using WebRTC internals, you're actually able to see any requests for media, but then also any network paths. So if I come over here and just call myself, note that this does have to be open at the time to get to deep level details. so it's not great at doing historical data right now, as we were talking about. But if I just make a call myself and I come over to WebRTC internals, I can see this call that's going on, and I can see everything about the network and the statistics for that call. So,
Where do we get access to this?
WebRTC internals is just available in the browser.
It's just an extension.
Yeah, it's not even an extension. You just go to Chrome//WebRTC-internals, and you can see all of the low-level details about the calls that are being made. Myself there. And just to kind of show you what happens, it gives you a timeline of events, and you can also see the candidate pairs that are being used. So you can understand if your call is going through turn or if it's not. You can see packet loss and jitter. So if we go down here, this isn't the friendly SUI. And
There's also a WebRTC log.
there is. There's a WebRTC log as well, which is also questionably useful.
One of the features we've been using quite a lot is the recording part, where you can kind of record.
You can actually record the audio.
Yeah.
Exactly. We discourage you from sharing things with us that have audio collected. If you have to open a support case, if you really want us to hear that, do it with a test call. Try not to have agents do this with real calls for privacy reasons, because it uses unencrypted audio to be able to play back. But yeah, these tools are useful, but you can actually take these dumps when it says download this. You can send those to us if you want us to analyze this and help you understand what was going on. And we can import those and open them as well. There's I don't remember the URL. It was developed by a third party. But this page, you just Google WebRTC internals dump importer. You can open those files that have been saved on and get the same view effectively of everything. So this is historically, I say historically. For a single call instance, if you're having issues and you want to be able to analyze it and how to analyze it, that's something that we can do.
What's that URL?
I can
Blow it up.
Dippo, this developer, is the biggest contributor to WebRTC outside of Google. And he's done a lot. He and I worked a lot together on basically troubleshooting and figuring out what types of tools we can build to make things easier when you're looking at trouble.
And this was when you're saying when you're on the importer and you did the export there.
Exactly. So you can have somebody at a remote site who doesn't understand how to read this page. They can just get the dump, send it to you, or you can open this. Or if you need to open a support case with us, we can get that as well. But we are collecting a lot of this data automatically. So WebRTC, we use both internal tools and external tools for doing that. We collect the information about how the call setup, so that when we have support cases, we can do that. We anonymize IP addresses and ports and phone numbers, so those aren't linked, but we identify the conversation IPs, the interaction IPs, so that we can look at those after the fact and help you understand the media path, any errors that occurred and what went on, and we can alert on those as well if they're happening on a broad scale.
They're using the PureCloud app as opposed to Google Chrome browser.
Yeah.
Is the logging still there? Or?
The logging is still there to us, but the WebRTC internals page is not there. It's not open. That's specific to the Chrome browser. But all of the data that it shows is still collected by PureCloud, so that we can look at that after the fact if you need us to look at it. So if you have a particular call, just give us an interaction ID, and we can understand that for you. And that's one of the things that we're going to work on exposing to you as well.
Same with Salesforce, if it's embedded inside Salesforce.
If it's embedded in Salesforce, if that's in the browser, then you can just use the WebRTC internals tab.
You get the console logs from the desktop app. So
Exactly. You can still get console logs from the desktop app. For Salesforce, for us to be able to collect that data, remember you have to enable our server-side logging in Salesforce due to the restrictions on Salesforce about that. But anything is still available via that as well. Any other questions, concerns?
Well, the desktop app is really like a Chrome engine built in, right?
It is.
So there's like technical possibility to actually enable this,
Yes.
So are there any plans to do that?
To enable WebRTC internals?
Yeah.
Not really, because exposing that data via logs where we can look at it in better tools is more useful to us.
Yeah.
The WebRTC internals page itself is not very user friendly, and you have to be on the machine and all of that. It's better to be able to collect that automatically and remotely, and then be able to look at it in different tools that are more useful.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any best practices or optimizations for using WebRTC within a virtual machine environment?
That is a good question. So currently, we do not, specifically for VDI, we do not support that entirely because there hasn't been one for it, and various platforms are more challenging to work with. So I can't offer any particular best practices about that. Only that I don't believe it's the ideal environment. Yeah. Any more questions, concerns? Yeah.
The desktop app, using the C# SDK, there's issues picking up a call. You can make a call, but you can't pick up or monitor pick up calls.
Yes. Yep. So the question was about picking up a call when you're using an SDK or other application. So yes, we have that fixed plan. There is currently an option in the application. So if you are using a separate application to do call controls with WebRTC, there is an option in the agent UI to turn back. It's not ideal. It does save it across environments, but we do plan to completely disable the need for that. So in your example, do they have the application running in the background?
That would allow them to place a call. Would not allow them to pick up an inbound call.
They can do that as well. Picking up inbound calls, yes. So for that, the answer was our WebRTC SDK to build a small standalone application. I can talk to you about how it's fairly easy to do, especially if you have development building small applications. The WebRTC SDK is used by Uber today. They use it for their calls because they built their front end around PureCloud's platform. But we do have plans to fix that as well. The primary challenge there is you're typing the sit answer command back to the browser, as opposed to just sending it via the sit command to the phone. So we do have that identified, and it's something that's on the roadmap to fix. If you have an urgent or high priority need for that, talk to me afterwards, and I will point you to the right person or I will just send a message to that person on your behalf. Yeah.
Do you have a plan to enable WebRTC for customer calls?
Yeah, so WebRTC for customer calls, we're tentatively calling that click to call on the customer side. There are plans for that, but I don't have a roadmap date for it yet. There are issues in that around network infrastructure because you have a less certain network configuration, because you have, instead of dozens for your sites or hundreds potentially for remote users, you have thousands or tens of thousands of different network configurations. That's a big issue, but then also billing is an issue for that because you're bypassing the carrier entirely, potentially. So we're working out those details to figure out how we can offer that in a way that is cost effective.
Yeah, I'm assuming there would be a cost per, like SMS messaging or,
Exactly.
That's
the plan. We do plan to offer that. I just don't have a roadmap date for you today.
So I point out that audio code is providing click-to-call WebRTC capability to all three Pure platforms today.
Cool. Thank you.
Do you have any updates on the architecture right now that you've got for PureConnect, where it's using the PureCloud station behind the scenes, that kind of thing?
Yeah.
And how that's going to evolve?
Yeah. So the question was about how PureConnect is using WebRTC today, kind of through a PureCloud integration. So into the general sessions, you probably heard the message of Genesis Cloud and how it's evolving. Basically, all of the features to enable this are in Genesis Cloud today. And all we really need to do is kind of make it a first-class citizen in PureConnect so that it's consuming those services directly and not having to integrate with a PureCloud edge service or a PureCloud organization to do that. So we do have plans for that. and I would have to talk to PureCloud, PureConnect's product management to do a roadmap, but I'd be glad to take that message back as well. Yeah.
For customers that are going from hard phones to some kind of soft phone or WebRTC, do you guys have guidance of, if you have a choice, is there a recommended approach, or do you guys care one or the other?
Well, I would tell you to use WebRTC. No, it really depends on what the question is around migration from hard phones to a WebRTC soft phone or a different type of soft phone. What's our guidance and recommendation? So the PureCloud soft phone that exists today, which is not WebRTC, is kind of on a slow, very unofficial end of life, just because it's not being adopted and used. The trend is to not use it because it requires additional IT management to install it on machines, to provision it Windows only. But it does have its benefits, and I would definitely encourage you to look at the comparison on our website between those two. But then also just kind of look at our, we have a page on our website that kind of helps you understand how WebRTC fits into your network. I will load this URL up for you. But ports and services to configure on your company firewall. This is an excellent page for you. This is on our help site. Just go to help.mypurecloud.com and search ports. You will find this. And there's a second page that actually gives you diagrams. See? And you will see various diagrams that can kind of illustrate what the egress points are on your network and how that is set up as well. So if you have particular setups like this, you can understand kind of how it will fit in for you. Yeah.
On this page, there's a mentioning about a RFC, which is regarding the NAT symmetry. Mm-hmm. Could you explain how that's implemented, because the information is quite short?
Sure.
Yeah.
So the question is about symmetric NATs in the RFC, about NAT traversal in ICE. So symmetric NATs can be problematic for WebRTC, especially if they don't respect people lives. We've seen that in a number of networks. Symmetric NATs, basically, you have a port mapping between internal and external, and what it requires is that the egress port, so the firewall kind of hole punching that WebRTC does, is not respected, and those port mappings can change in the middle of a call. So that's not ideal. And so we kind of recommend against symmetric NATs as in general, though in principle they are fine as long as they respect people lives. It gets very low level. It's kind of hard to talk to. Was there particular?
Well, the RFC mentioned, it's like 4 something. It's a very short text about it, but it says your equipment should support it, but we haven't been able to confirm it with the manufacturers.
Okay.
So since it's an RFC, I figured there was a technical explanation to it. But
let's talk about that afterwards, if you don't mind.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know if I know this offhand.
I'll
feel free to email me to xander.domain@genesis.com if you have any questions, or submit on our developer forum. It's an excellent place to get information. And I think we're coming up on time. Chuck's going to do it. We're going to do a drawing. Thank you for all your excellent questions. Yep. I do have some time, so if you have more questions.
Anybody need to take it? Okay.
All of that logging, if you're using the embedded framework, do you have to turn any of that on?
You have to enable server-side logging in the Salesforce configuration.
Well, I mean, if you're building your own client.
Oh, if you're building your own client with the WebRTC SDK, we do already have that data collection, so we enable that for you, and you can disable it if you would not like us to collect that, but it's enabled by default because it really helps us to help you. Further questions? Really about anything? Headsets? Yeah.
You said about the SIP soft phone long-term goal, and I agree. The SIP soft phone is a pain point in WebRTC. But I have a customer with a VDI environment, so they've got SIP soft phone installed on the Windows terminal, and then all their software and their PureCloud application is running in the VDI. If there's no SIP softphone, you have to have a hardphone in that environment.
Right. So it doesn't have an official endpoint. It's really just on its tail end, I think. Please don't take that as like we're going to stop.
I know it's a very clunky, unfortunately. Yeah, it's a lot more involved setup.
Yeah, so there are those situations. So until we fully support WebRTC in those environments, I think that's still the way to go. That's the most stable and supported option that we have, is using the SIP softphone in the VDI environment. But we would like that I would like that to be on the tail end and to fully support WebRTC in that environment as well. It's just a matter of getting it on the roadmap.
Is it not simpler to WebRTCify that little shim component?
So the biggest problem with WebRTC is that it's direct to the browser, which often runs on the client side, and you've got additional network hops as well as hardware detection issues. That's the biggest thing. Some do support it, and we just don't have an official stance either way. Okay.
So it doesn't really make sense.
More questions? Please post on the developer forum with any questions you have, because the issues that you're having are likely not unique to you. There are other customers who have had those issues, but we also are on there answering those questions and providing updates about when certain things will be supported or what updates that we have coming. And if you're interested in being part of the kind of limited release for that real-time data servicing or understanding jitter, packet loss, MOS, any type of network issues, let me know afterwards, and we can discuss that as well. Yeah?
Well, open question then. Has anyone else had any problems with kind of getting stuttering sound in the middle of calls, but for only like it's not you can't hear it in the recordings, so it must be like browser related somehow. So it's like.
Has anyone else heard that one? About stuttering sound?
We have a similar situation, and we have old hard phones that were using the old codec. I forget the 7, I don't remember the number.
G7?
Yeah, and the recordings were happening with the oldest codec. And so there were agents were reporting problems, the recording all sounded good. We flipped the recording codec to be the same one as the agent, and we started being able to reproduce the product.
Check your recording codec. WebRTC phones currently always use Opus?
Yeah, so ours is a little different, but we did have a similar thing where the recordings didn't match with the agent version.
I would also check your firmware on your headsets if you're using headsets, because there could be jumps in that location.
Well, we've dug quite a lot, and we've had quite a lot of escalated tickets with care.
Okay.
And it seems to be kind of unrelated to just about everything, which makes it a mystery.
Okay.
So unfortunately, the solution right now has been to kind of go back to SIP soft phones, which solves it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to take a look at that one.
We have noticed an issue with memory on PCs. A number of customers have not had the recommended amount of RAM, so they've only had 4 gig and run WebRTC, and if they've got something else running.
Sure. So that is a good question. We didn't talk about resource usage on the computer. So yeah, WebRTC is putting the entire phone in the browser. Chrome is notorious for consuming RAM like it's candy. So we try to monitor the memory usage and simplify that and catch everything as much as we can and limit it. But any additional running processes, especially if there's anything else using your microphones, can contribute to the memory usage. But bring those to our attention. We'll try to give you recommendations for how we can work around that too. Yeah.
I want to validate. If you see good MOS scores and bad, and the call doesn't sound good, does that point to also a headset problem?
It could. So MOS is kind of a complicated thing, especially MOS estimation, because that's really what we're talking about is MOS estimation. We're doing that based on the network layer, and so it's not really doing acoustic MOS, which is the actual sound coming out, and that can be quite different. So it could be a headset issue. What we kind of encourage you to do when you get to that point is not use our tools, so that you can isolate to see if that is a problem with other things, and then maybe do an acoustic loss test. Yeah.
So we use the dropper level of 75% with our WebRTC. A lot of times, I don't know if this is browser specific or something, but if you click on the, you know where you set place calls with external apps, right underneath there where you do audio controls?
Yep.
So we'll set up custom profiles, but a lot of times those don't stick for us. After a couple times of logging in and out, it defaults back to use computer settings, which is really causing a problem.
Yeah.
As some of our agents, sometimes the audio comes through the computer speakers, sometimes it's in their headset, and you have to continuously keep resetting that, and it causes a lot of tickets on our service desk.
Yes, we are improving that. The biggest challenge, just to be upfront about that, is that Chrome randomizes device segments.
Okay.
So we actually do not know if it is the same exact device as you had before. And so we are working on alternative ways to identify devices and associate them with the users.
Okay, and is there a preferred setup, I should say? Like, so we use Google Chrome, and that's what we use as a university. Should we be maybe looking at the desktop app? We're all Windows, so that shouldn't be a problem. Should we be using Firefox? What's your guys' recommendation on that?
Our recommendation is the desktop app or Chrome. They are, someone mentioned before, they are effectively the same. The desktop application tends to be a couple of versions of Chromium behind. It has a longer stable version, effectively. What you might see every once in a while, we try our best to stay on top of Chrome breaking issues, but if you search WebRTC breaks, or Chrome breaks WebRTC, it happens all the time. We try to stay on top of those and catch those things in alpha and canary versions. We do WebRTC automation in Chrome Canary, so that we're catching those things before they run out.
Okay.
But if you want to have a longer stable version, the desktop app is pretty good for that. You can also have a Chrome policy that stays on a long-term support version as opposed to the latest stable. That's also an option for you.
Okay, that answers my question. And I have a second question. I don't want to steal all the time.
Please.
So we have another issue that's been coming up recently. So we've migrated about 4,000 users to PureCloud, and we've only had this come up a handful of times. But every once in a while, when we build a WebRTC profile and attach it to a user's account, the user tries to dial out, but they end up with an insufficient dialing permissions that we have only resolved by recreating the WebRTC or recreating their entire user profile with a different unique ID, so a different email or something like that.
Okay.
I have screenshots and things like that that we can maybe talk about.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if anyone else has had that issue.
We see that with our SIP-soft phone.
Okay, so you guys see that with the SIP-soft phone. And we use just WebRTC.
Okay. Yeah, so WebRTC, one thing that I mentioned earlier is that we're moving towards, we're in the planning phase for configureless WebRTC, effectively where you don't have to create WebRTC stations. So that will hopefully ease that pain, or if not eliminate it entirely. So you don't have to create the stations. There's already not any provision, right? So it's a little easier than current stations, but there still is the pain point of having to create a WebRTC station for each user, and it associates with that user in order to be able to route that virtual call, or route the call to the virtual station. We're going to remove that entirely so that you don't have to.
Have you had any other reports of that?
That particular thing probably wouldn't come to me, but I'd be glad to help get it to the right person if you want to talk afterwards, yeah.